So, yeah. Today's week 4 of English Every Week. Before we start this lesson, I would like to make some corrections on the and clarifications on the stress system that I mentioned in week 2. Because I did not clearly specify what it actually means for syllables to be unstressed and for vowels to be reduced. So, there are fundamentally two kinds of vowels in English. Weak vowels and strong vowels. Strong vowels number 18 or so, and weak vowels, well, there are 3. Right? I, u, u. A, I, u. A, I, u. 3 vowels. 3 weak vowels. And the reduced syllables must take one of those 3 vowels. Doesn't matter what the spelling is. It doesn't matter what the regular laws say it should be. It must take one of those 3 vowels, and they follow very simple rules that I will introduce. Probably I will introduce later at some point. But they follow very simple, very predictable rules. Basically, I only ever appears in... I doesn't really appear in General American or... it doesn't really appear in General American English. U is very rare. And I'm actually not quite sure what the specifics of the spread between and I are, but it should not be that complicated. Much less complicated than the strong vowels, which are a mess, right? That's because the weak vowels only arose recently, right? Before that, in words such as organization, they would enunciate every single vowel out, and obviously, they were too busy working 14 hours a week in 14 hours a day in coal mines to speak properly. So yeah, that's how it happened. That's a joke, by the way. It happened, the development of weak vowels started as early as Middle English. So yeah. Okay. Let's start with consonants of the week. The consonant of the week this week is face. Is B and D. Is B and D. Right, and it's very simple. As usual, it's very simple. They're both Linus stops. So, they have the normal things like masked release and no audible release at the end of words. D can be flat, like T. Rudder, words like rudder. A ladder versus ladder. Latter versus ladder. They're both ladder in my dialect. And, well, there are 4 affrication changes for B and D. And those 4 are... Sorry if I'm a little less enthusiastic than usual. Researching this week was tough. It was hard. And it took at least twice as long as the previous weeks. And I think this is going to be a really long episode. Anyways, roads. That's a DZ affricate. Drama. Behind them. I have no idea how to draw an F. Is it the other way? Is it like a 6? I'm not Icelandic, sorry. F. Close enough. And obvious. Right, so these are the... It's not actually that, by the way. But, yeah. Roads. Roads. Drama. Drama. I think it should be something that's more similar to, drama. Behind them. And obvious. This is not really... Don't worry about this. Roads, drama, and obvious. Those are the 3 that are actually... Those are 3 that are actually important. Right, how are we doing on time? Cool. Another really short consonant of the week. Fine by me. Alright. Now time for the vowel of the week. Which is face. It's the face vowel. Or that. So what is the... Let me pull up the chart. Let me fill in what we know about the chart so far. 3, 4, and then special one for you. A, B, O, U. 2, 3. Man. Face. I decided to use lexical sets instead of, IP roles. Because I think that'll be easier to, I don't think man is the name of the lexical set, it's trap, right? Okay. Today's vowel of the week is face. And we know strut. So we didn't quite move it on. But that is the table as we know it. Let me just shade in some spaces that don't have anything. No, it's wrong space. Today's vowel of the week is face. It's pronounced as A in most accents, and is represented by tense A. And, well, you might notice that this vowel is the name of the letter A. Right, and it is the most common way to pronounce A, which is probably why it's the name of A. Most common pronunciation of A. I'll time it up a bit. tuning my nose. Most common pronunciation of A. It is sometimes irregularly spelled with a lax A. Like in chamber. It is also spelled with AI regularly. As in faint. It is one possible pronunciation of EA. Such as in the word, I do not have an example. Yes, great. And it is also, yeah, that's it. That's basically all the ways it's spelled. It is quite an irregular vowel. That's probably like the average of what we're gonna have to deal with from now on. But I just want to say that there are a lot of irregularities with this vowel, and the reason is, the reason for these irregularities is that in French there's a very common vowel that's similar. At least English speakers think it's similar to EA. It's present in words such as I have, j'ai, j'ai. Now you'll notice it's not quite I is not quite A, it's not J, it's j'ai, but English peasants didn't know that, and so they borrowed it with that sound. And as you know, English vocabulary is heavily derived from French. Moving on. Right, for the foreseeable future, we're gonna fly past these segments. I might bundle them into one, actually. Vocabulary of the week. Small. Big. We're doing adjectives of size. Alright. The smallest adjective, commonly used adjective, is microscopic. Microscopic. And then is minuscule. And then goes tiny, puny. This one means something more like weak, actually, but it can also mean literal size, little, small. I definitely drew this too long. Medium, average, normal, sizable. It's quite a big jump from normal to sizable, and it's big, large, it's not that big of a jump, great, massive, enormous, immense, colossal, gigantic. These can go either way, really. Titanic and vast. And vast is very, very close to big. There are also some other words that are related to size. Maybe more so related to density than size, right? Words such as compact, dense, snug, bulky, cozy, and jumbo. Right? A lot of these are derived from nouns, right? Like, for example, microscopic is obviously of a microscope. Sizable is, like, it has a decent size. Enormous, massive, it is very big mass. It is a very big mass, or it has a very big mass. Colossal, size of a colossus. Gigantic, the size of a giant. Titanic, the size of a titan. And these words. Compact means it's very, like, if the space is very efficiently used. Right? Like, how do I describe this? It's similar to dense, right? There's a lot of stuff in a very small space. Snug is like cozy, in that it's like comfortable, right? It has a good connotation, and it basically means like it's very tight. It's very like comfortably tight, right? Bulky is unpleasant, right? It is anything that is not that heavy, but it is unwieldily big. For example, this whiteboard is very bulky. If I were to try to move it, it's not that heavy, but just the fact that it is 2 meters long and like 1 meter, 1.5 meters high. Or is it the other way? 1.5 meters long and 2 meters high makes it extremely difficult to carry and move. Right? That's what bulky means. And jumbo is like a size, right? Like how you have small, medium, large fries at McDonald's. Jumbo used to be a size until that one documentary came out about the effects of drinking jumbo drinks, and they discontinued it. But it is like bigger than large, right? It's like the biggest tier. I think it's named after Jumbo the elephant, or maybe the elephant's named after it. I'm not sure. But something like that. Yeah. All right. Time for spelling of the week. Today's letter is C. We're just moving down the alphabet. C can be used in the digraph CH. Now, you have to be very, very careful when it comes to C. And that's because the letter C and the letter CH used to represent two sounds that are not in English anymore. Specifically, CH used to represent the palatal fricative. Sh, sh, sorry. Sh, sh, sh. Yes, sh. Which is not in English anymore, but it used to be. See German nicht, nicht, nicht. nicht, nicht, as in night. And C used to represent the sound t, which used to be a phoneme in English, but is now just an allophone. Is that a magnet? How is that doing that? So C is full of irregularities, and in other languages it is not full of this many irregularities, but in English it is quite irregular. But we'll see what we can do. Okay, so in front, so C mainly represents three sounds. It represents the CH sound, CH represents three sounds. It represents CH, SH, or the K sound. Right, and I have examples for all of these. Chair, chaise, and chasm. I believe it's pronounced something different. I'll use the example I actually have provided, which is machine. Right, but it's pronounced, CH is pronounced CH when it's a native word, such as chair. Although I am 99% sure that was also borrowed from Latin or French, but native as in it was in Middle English. SH is a modern French loanwords, such as machine, chaise, chambre, chaloir. Is that an English word? Chalet, mâché, like papier mâché, right? Those are all modern French loans. And K is for Greek loans, such as chasm. Right? Clear as mud. Let's move on. If C is before E, I, A, E, I, Y, A, E, or O, E, which you don't really need to. Because in modern US spellings, which is the ones that most people use, because let's be honest, nobody spells it like A-E-O-N anymore. The word isn't this, it's this. This is the one that's in common usage. Right, so if C comes before E, I, or Y, usually it is pronounced K. No, usually it is pronounced S. Right, and if else, it is pronounced K. And when C is followed by K, like in crack, then it is always pronounced K. Right? So, important bit of what I'm doing here that you should pay attention to when I say it is something, that means there are exceptions. If I say it is always something, that means that there are 0 exceptions. Right? These are the rules you really want if you're a language learner and you want to master. You want rules that are like regular, right? Like Serbo-Croatian regular. Not 0 exceptions no matter what. French regular, if you will. Such as in the word shampoing, but I digress. This is one of those rules, right? Another one of those rules is I before E except after C, or whatever the hell they teach people in the US. Basically, that means in words such as receive, the E comes before the I, right? And in words such as is that right? Is that right? No, that is right. And words such as, this is actually not quite accurate because there are a number of words that are spelled EI, but basically if EI comes after C, it is always spelled receive, even though this vowel is actually based off of the I. This regular spelling is actually based off of the I, not the E. It is still spelled R-E-C-E-I-V. And that is a consistent rule in English spelling. And when C is reduplicated, which means there are 2 of them in a row, such as an accept and it is before E-I-Y. It is pronounced, this means the above, by the way, K-S. Else is pronounced K. And that's it. That's how to spell C regularly. That wasn't that bad. That wasn't so bad that you need to delete C from our alphabet. Sorry. I was just having a cough there. But there are people who legitimately want to delete C from our alphabet. It just makes no sense. Like, anyways, let's see how we're doing on time. Oh, we just passed the 30-minute mark. All right. This will take a while, so I might split this into 2 parts to upload. We are doing modal auxiliaries today. And honestly, I can't be bothered to write everything on the board, because there's just so much I need to cover. So I'll do it vite, which means quick. Not to be confused with the Finnish form of that word, which if you geminated T, that's. But anyways, I digress. What is a modal auxiliary? Or in general, what is an auxiliary? Well, an auxiliary verb is a verb that modifies another's meaning without having a meaning unto itself. Right? So what does that mean? Well, it means that you cannot use an auxiliary verb by itself. Right? You cannot say, he can. Unless it's, well, of course, unless it's like some poetry or like writing and you know what you're doing. But there are, let's just say this. If you know the rules, you can break them. Right? Oh, fuck. Hold on. Oh, no. Okay. I should free up some space. I will delete the cut versions of week 1. We're gonna just step on. So says Gigante. What is taking up so much storage? My god. Okay. Can I just empty? Yeah. Let's empty the recycling bin. Yes, please. Empty the recycling bin. Thank you. Alright. Let's continue. What was I talking about again? Right, modal auxiliaries. Auxiliary verb is an adverb. Oh, right. So as I was saying, if you're someone who knows what you're doing, if you're someone who knows what you're doing, every rule can be broken, right? If you do it good enough and there's a purpose to it. But in normal everyday speech, you cannot use auxiliaries as a just standalone, right? You cannot say he might. Not what, right? You cannot say he might orange. Okay, cool. You've given us an object. That's one step in the right direction. But he might what with the object, right? You need another verb. With an auxiliary verb, you need another verb to express its meaning, or else it cannot be meant, right? In other words, an auxiliary verb's complement is a verb phrase. And what is modality? Well, if you remember week 3, modality is essentially the statement's relationship with reality. Right? And a statement can have 3 kinds of relationships with reality. Dynamic, which is ability. Deontic, which is permission. Or like ethical, I guess you could say, right? Like moral or moral. Or obligatory. They're the same thing under Kant, I think. And epistemic. For epistemic, which is likelihood or likelihood or truth, right? And those are the three fundamental relationships that a verb has with reality, right? That a sentence has with reality, right? Can this be done? Should this be done? And did this done? Did this occur? Did this happen? And there are 5 modal auxiliaries that scholars generally agree are modal auxiliaries. Like, they absolutely 100% say, yes, these 5 are modal auxiliaries, period. There are other words that can be used to express modal, that can be used to express modality. They can be used to express modality. Those are called semi-modal auxiliaries. Other verbs, those are called semi-modal auxiliaries. There are also adjectives and nouns that can express modality, but we will cover that next time because this is going to take forever, trust me. So all modal auxiliaries have a few things in common, right? They differ in meaning depending on tense. And what this means is not only the normal things, right? Like the past tense describes the past, and the present tense describes the present. I'm talking about fundamental changes in use and meaning, right? You could say, I could say you should. I could say you should wear this to the mall tomorrow. But I say you shall wear this to the mall tomorrow. Suddenly the dynamic is a little, not just a little, different, right? And in both of those cases, I was speaking in the non-past tense, right? The referent is the present. It is not the past. Even though I used the past form of the verb, it is not the past, right? And the only word in which you can use the past to mean the past is can. The only modal auxiliary, sorry. And they have special negation rules. So every modal auxiliary fundamentally has a problem with negation, right? Let's say we have a statement, something like, bees can fly. Right? Bees can fly. You might notice I colored all 3 of those words in separate, in different tenses because in different colors, because this is the verb, this is the auxiliary, and this is the subject. Right? Those have different roles in the sentence. So, remember last week when I said that all modal statements can essentially be broken down to one sentence, which is according to something, comma, it is something that something. right? This is called the modal base. This is called the modal force. And this is just a preposition. Right? So, I can rephrase the sentence like this. According to observation, according to my observation, it is necessary that bees can fly. Now, I am going to highlight it is necessary that bees fly. I cannot have a modal sentence in my sentence. All right, so let's say for a second this is a different sentence, right? Without the modal. Bees fly. When I negate this sentence, bees fly, using do support. I'll cover that in future weeks, I promise. Once we get through modality, I'll do support. Bees don't fly. This is very simple, right? All it's saying is that bees do not fly. Simple. It is not true that bees fly. In other words. But when I insert a not here, where should this go? Should it go here? Should it go here? Should it go here? Well, obviously it does not go here, right? The modal base stays the same regardless of the negation to this part. It is always according to my observation. Why? Because this isn't actually stated in the sentence. It is implied, and it can be reasoned out that observation is the modal base, right? So obviously, that is not negated. But we really have no way of deciding which one of these go in, because it may seem like a subtle difference in meaning, but it is meaningful, right? Take you mustn't apologize. You must not apologize, and you need not apologize, right? You must not apologize means you can do anything, but you must not apologize. No, it means you cannot do anything except not apologize. Right? You need not apologize means you can apologize, but you don't have to. So, the difference is that if you say something like, you must not apologize, the not in you must not apologize is negating is negating this part, right? So, according to my observation, it is necessary that bees do not fly. As in, bees can do everything, but they must. It is very true that they do not fly. But if I say something like, you need not apologize, what that means is this. It means, according to my observation, it is not necessary that bees fly. Does this mean that bees do not fly? Sorry. Does it mean that bees do not fly? Of course not. Of course not. Do you know what that is? That's denying the consequent. Right? That's a logical fallacy. What this means is that it is not necessary for bees to fly, but we have not proven that they do not fly. It is just that they're doing something where I can't quite tell whether they're flying or not, but they're definitely not flying, right? They might be doing something else, I don't know, but the thing is, there's a very important difference between the two. Because if you say something like, you needn't, I don't know, you need not get executed in Eritrea, and someone takes it as you need not escape. Never mind, just cut this part. Anyways. Let's actually get into some modal auxiliaries and their rules. Right, and oh, I almost forgot. This model of negation, putting the not here, is called external negation. And this is called internal negation. Why? Because external negation negates outside the main clause, which is the main preposition, which is that bees fly. And internal negation negates inside the preposition, which is that bees fly. Imagine this is like shells, right? This is a shell, this is a shell, this is the core. That's why it's external and internal negation. Alright. Now you see why this took so long to research. Our first modal verb is will. I won't use blue anymore because it kind of sucks. Will, right? In the present tense, will expresses futurity. It expresses the future. We will meet on Friday. It expresses habituality. He will come soon, right? Notice how when we say we will meet on Friday, and we'll meet on Friday, and he will come soon, I put a stress on the will to mean the. So, put that up. It will be important a bit. It can express strong probability. Such as, I will roll doubles soon, or this car will start. Right? And you'll notice these meanings are all very similar. Habitual actions repeat themselves in the future and have a strong probability. Future actions are usually habitual and also express a certain and everything in the future necessarily has a chance as an element of probability to it, and vice versa, right? And the converse. And this next one also has a strong link. Can make indirect demands, such as, you will do as I say. You will do as I say. You will obey my wishes. Right? And that is also sort of similar to the future. Because you're saying in the future, you will obey my wishes. Right? And it can be abbreviated as LL, as in wheel or aisle, right? In the past, it's used in the consequent of, so past form of will is would, right? So it's in the past it's used as the consequence as the it is used in the consequent of counterfactual conditional statements, right? And if you want to know what counterfactual means, because I'll be using it a lot, rewatch the grammar part of week 3, because I cover a lot of basic things on conditionals there, and conditionals are a big part of modality. So obviously, since this is modality part 2, you should have learned everything in modality part 1 before proceeding here. But just in case you didn't, I'm just saying. Alright. Counterfactual conditionals are conditional type 2 and type 3, if you forgot. Is used to express politeness. Would you like to have a cup of tea, sir? Can be used with rather to express polarity. PPI means positive polarity indicator, by the way. Can be used with the word rather to express positive polarity, which is your opinion. Polarity is basically your opinion, right? Like, I would rather go hunting instead of fishing because I don't like the water, right? Polarity is like how partial you are to something, right? A positive polarity indicator means you are partial, and negative means that you think that one thing is better than another, or or one thing is higher in some aspect than another, and negative polarity indicator is the opposite, right? Yeah, it's basically comparative. And it is abbreviated as apostrophe D. As in, I'd rather go hunting than fishing. Because I don't like the water, again. Right, and negation is always internal. I'll put negation in red. Right, and the contractions Negation contractions are won't and wouldn't. I won't stand for this. He wouldn't stand for this. Which is also an interesting point, because if you are reporting indirect speech, you use the past participle in all modalities, right? Instead of saying he said he will bring this here later, you would say he said he would bring this here later, right? Because you're reporting indirect speech. I see this mistake a lot, even amongst native speakers. I see this mistake a lot. May. So in the present tense, it expresses weak probability. I may be able to walk soon. It expresses permission. As in, you may go to the bathroom. He may go. But this usage is dying out amongst younger people, and it's understand it, but it's quite strange when like a young person says, you may, yes, you may. Like, you know, only unks do that. Concession of a point. He may be stronger than me, but I'd win. Optative, which is another grammatical mood, not really a mood in English. It's not really a mood because it's like it expresses wishes, right? But in some languages, such as Albanian, it actually is a mood. It's basically wish, right? Like j'aimerais, blah 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 blah. Or Sion, blah 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 blah. Or hey mom, blah 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 blah. Right? It's hope. It's wish. It's things like that. Right? May God bless you. But it's normally only used in like formal contexts, usually religious. May you be well. Right? And again, important distinction here. When you use may as the optative, you need to use the following verb as subjunctive. Such as may you be well. And when you use with have, it represents uncertainty. Right? He may have injured himself. Bees may have flown. Bees may fly. Bees may have flown. But have is also like one of those words that are sort of very common. Not really very common, but it is a way for may to express the past tense. Because it's actual past tense, which is might, doesn't do that. Right? First use expresses weaker probability. Such as, I might be able to walk soon. Expresses counterfactuality with have. Right? So, whereas if I say he may have injured himself. It's like, oh, maybe. Like, you don't know, right? If you say, he might have injured himself, it could either be that you don't know, or you know he hasn't, but he could have, right? He might have. And this can be contracted. This can be contracted to may have, and this can be contracted to might have. And it expresses permission more politely. Might I come in? As for negation, it's internal if mark of green. And external if not. And there are no contractions. So you just add not to the end of it. There are no common contractions. Mayn't and mightn't were, I've been told was common at one point, but I have never seen anyone ever say mayn't. Right? Oh fuck, I switched the lids wrong. So what is internal? Right? This is internal. This is internal. This is internal. This is internal. This. Probably should have done it the other way around, but next verb is shall. So the present tense. I should say non-past, but just know when I say present and non-past, I'm referring to the same tense. All right. Sometimes used in place of will. Specifically, in certain accents, in the first person, shall can sometimes substitute will. In case of directive, as in, you shall not pass, if you use in the second or third person. Or in the Bible, the Ten Commandments. You shall not steal. You shall not commit You shall not steal. You shall love your neighbor. You shall not commit you shall not commit adultery. Right? Shall can be used to ask for advice. Oh, what shall I do? Although the way that I'm saying that is like, it's not really used anymore, at least among the young people. Most young people use the past form for this, and it's a lot more common in general to use the past form. But in the perfective, it can express it as in, you shall have your homework done when I come back, or this shall have been put away by the time I come back. Something similar to that. Like you can imagine, right? And in the past tense, it is used to ask for advice. And this one's a lot more common. What should I wear? What should I do? Who should I go to? Where should I go to? Eat. Who's mine? It's used for obligation. Although far less directly than the next two words, which is must or can, right? It's less of a need and more of like a personal obligation, right? Like, something like, I shouldn't eat chips because I am getting fat, right? Versus, I must not kill people. It's a degree, it's a spectrum of absoluteness, and should is near the bottom. Past tense is conjugated as should, by the way. And it's also used for counterfactual statements. Such as, I should have done this yesterday. And it can substitute for if in antecedent of conditional one. So then, like, what is that? If I ran a red light, I would. No. If I ran a red light, I'll be caught and fined $300 and $500 and 3 demerit points, or whatever it was. Right? I can swap the if with should. Should I run a red light, I will get a fine of $500 and 3 demerit points. And that's it. Negation, yeah, always internal. And the contractions are shan't and shouldn't. The next word is must. Right, in the present, it does not have a past tense. And it's unique among the core modal verbs in that it doesn't have a past tense. And it expresses necessity in very absolute fashion, right? You must stop this madness at once. It also expresses a conclusion. He must be leaving, right? If used with have, it is only this, right? So you cannot say he mustn't have killed. Sorry. You can't say he must have done his homework. Right? That does not mean it is necessary for him to have done his homework. That means that, again, according to my observations and reason and logic, it is necessary that he did his homework. Right? This does not mean, according to my observation, that does not mean according to societal rules, according to my expectations, it is obligatory that he have done his homework. That's not what it means. Right, just to be clear. And it is also And negation is always internal. And the contraction is must have. So what it means for negation to always be internal is that if you need to say something such as, we don't know if bees fly, but we know that they don't not fly. If you want to say something like that, you're going to need another word, right? Because even if you express it in the past, it's no use. I forgot to mention. Negation is always external in questions, right? If I say, won't you have went by then? What I'm saying is, I have an example for this. I don't need to make it up on the spot. Yeah. If I say, can't the bus just be late? I'm saying, I'm asking you, according to your experience, is it not possible that the bus is late? And you'll notice how the not is external there, right? I'm not asking you if the bus is not late, right? Obviously, the bus is not late. It's past the scheduled time, and the bus is not here, right? And if I ask you, can it be that the bus is just late? I'm not asking you, is the bus on time? Because no, it's not, right? What I'm asking you is it not possible that the bus is late? And the negation is external, right? That is why this matters. Anyway, last one, can. It's good I left a bunch of space. Because this is a hard one. It's the most common modal verb by far. In fact, if you go in my Notion notes, which I will link at the bottom of this video, actually. If you go into my Notion notes, you should see that if you go into my Notion notes, you should see that almost half of all the notes I made on this section starts with the word can, right? Can be used as a future marker. Can be used as to indicate the habitual aspect. Can be used to ask for advice. Can be used to state obligations. Can be used to state an epistemological conclusion. There we go. Epistemological conclusion. Yes. Epistemic conclusion, I guess. But yeah, that's because can means a lot of things. First of all, it expresses ability. He can speak French. The bus can arrive on time, but it doesn't. He can speak French, but he doesn't. Right? It expresses existence. Right? What's an example of this? There can be certain instances where this rule does not hold up. As in, there exists certain instances where this rule does not hold up, right? Can be substituted. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, can be, which is expressing ability. Can be substituted in by exists. It expresses permission. And this is a recent merge. you can take one. You can go to the bathroom. You can leave. Can also be used with have to express uncertainty. Although this is, I believe this is very uncommon. I should also state that the conjunction for must have is must have. Because I forgot to say it. It is commonly used to make requests. Can I have one? If negated, the requests are impatient and angry. If negated, the requests are impatient and angry. And it is commonly used with senses to express ability. I can see him, I can hear him, I can touch the pole, I can taste the food. I can see! Wow! I'm holding markers so I can't clap. But, yeah. Past tense is a bit unique because it can be used as a normal past tense. Which is, just to reiterate, none of the past tenses. If I say would, it does not imply any of this. It does not mean any of this. It only means this, right? But if I say could, it can be used in all of these instances as a past tense. I could see, for example, but now I went blind. So I can't anymore. It is used to express probability in addition to all of the above. And it's similar to might, as in it's a weaker probability than may and much weaker than will. Right? And it can be substituted, and it can substituted in to make requests. Right? And it's a bit more polite, honestly. Could is a bit more uncertain than can. Could is a bit more uncertain than can, right? So, for example, he could breathe fire. He could also not. I don't know. Right? It's all a little bit uncertain. Right? Now it's quite special when it comes to negation because it is external primarily. And its contractions are can and could. But it can also, some other contractions are cannot and could not. Right? There's no contraction for could not, except could. But there are two contractions for cannot. And cannot is generally more formal than can't. It's not really that big of a deal. But the last thing is if stress is placed on the not, then negation becomes internal. Right? For example, I cannot wear a suit versus I cannot wear a suit. You see the difference? If you're a native English speaker, you probably see the difference. this is a good time to mention that my videos are targeted towards native English speakers too. And I don't know how to brand myself to make myself visible to them as well. But it's meant to be a way of looking at linguistic concepts through the lens of English, as well as learning English through the lens of linguistic concepts. Right? Which is something I feel like is often imitated, never equaled, right? And today's idiom of the week. Wow. Idiom of the week. Right, today's idiom of the week is bad money drives out good. What does this mean? Well, it means that in many scenarios of exchange, where you have goods of different quality, bad things overwhelm the market. Okay, and not only does this in many scenarios of exchange, bad things overwhelm good things in the market. Why? It's very simple, actually. No one wants bad things. It's true. Nobody wants bad things. Because nobody wants bad things, especially for money, people pay in the worst coin they can get. Because remember, this is back in the 1700s when minting wasn't like that sophisticated and they couldn't produce like identical coins. And they also needed to fill in some. They also needed to cut some corners in the production of their coins. Like, for example, to make a hole in the middle of the dime because they were running out of money. This actually happened, by the way. But yeah, bad money drives out good. So what this means is that people will intentionally give each other bad currency and hoard all the good currency. And so what will happen is the entire market gets filled up with bad currency to the point where if you want to conduct a transaction, like say sell something, all you're going to get is bad currency. As a newcomer to the market, all you're going to get is bad currency, and the entire place will be filled up with bad currency. And in terms of saturation of the market, and if you were to interpret that as kind of value, what that would mean is that bad things are overvalued and good things are undervalued, right? And I feel like this has a lot of implications that I'll just let you work out on your own to modern society. And I think this is a very impactful and useful aphorism to take into your life, yeah. You've watched this far. Honestly, hats off on you. I know I make these videos like mind-numbingly boring. I would never. I don't know how high that was before, but I would never actually watch one of my videos because they are just so boring. But I know people can stand this. Yeah.